What's going on YouTube? It's 805 John from Prison to Purpose, formerly known as Just John's Journalism. I decided to rebrand the channel because I started this channel a couple of years ago, as my longtime subscribers know, and I appreciate you guys, but I just never really stayed consistent with it, so I decided to give it a fresh new start. I know I have a story to tell, my life experiences, and I really feel that I could help others make better choices than I did at a younger age. So today's first video, it's going to be my first day in prison. Basically going to talk about the charge that got me sent to prison and that transition from county to prison and how that first day was for me, how I felt. So let's jump into the video. So my first term, I went to prison for assault with a deadly weapon, commission a felony for the benefit of a street gang, and street terrorism. I was 19 at the time. I ended up in county, obviously. They raided me, took me to county. Sitting in there fighting my case. I fought it for a good 6 months before I signed my deal. I ended up signing for 9 years with 85. So they forthwith me, and Ventura County, we ended up going to Wasco. So I'm waiting. I had a cellie, he was older homie from Bologna at the time. He had done a lot of prison time. So I was just like trying to get as much knowledge as I could from him, schooling if you'll say, basically what to expect, how to conduct myself so I don't get in a wreck when I go up there, because again, I'm young, I'm 19, it's my first time going up, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was really nervous. I didn't want to show it, but just like for those of you that have been incarcerated, that first time you go to juvenile hall, you're nervous to go. It's a new experience, you don't know what to expect. But then once you get there, you get comfortable and it becomes nothing. Same thing like going to county jail for that first time. You're nervous to go, you don't know what to expect. You could sit there and lie and say that you're not, but we all have a nervousness of the unknown, a fear of the unknown, if you will. But then once we get comfortable, it becomes, again, nothing. So this was no different. I played it off like I was excited to go, but deep down inside, I was really nervous. I didn't know what to expect. It's going to be the longest time I've ever done. I'm not going to get out till I'm in my mid-20s. So I'm just asking him what to expect. He's basically putting me up on game, simple stuff. Roll your mattress when you wake up, keep your shoes on at all times. He explains to me how Wasco is going to be. You're most likely going to end up in the cells because of your case. You're going to be slammed down most of the time. And just like the do's and don'ts. Don't sell soldier, bird bath every day if you're not going to shower. Don't give you showers for the most part because we're always slammed down in reception. And, no fraternizing with the COs, always have a shadow. Make sure a homie's with you when you go talk to the cops. Basically stuff like that. All stuff that we really should know already from county jail if you're in that lifestyle. But again, I wanted to make sure I could get as much as I could before I went up there. So I didn't want to get in a wreck. I didn't want to hit a wall. So I want to say it took maybe 2 or 3 weeks. My paperwork set forthwith to Wasco, and the Wasco bus comes every Wednesday for new commitments. But I didn't go that first week. I don't even think I went that second week. I believe it took me 3 weeks. And I remember after the second week, I was like, oh, they're not going to take me like that. So I ended up, because I was saving my money from store. I wasn't going to store after I got sentenced because I wanted to go with as much money to prison as I could. Because in my county, when you go to Wasco, they let you actually keep your money and they don't pull for restitution out of the money that you take. So I was trying to go up there with as much as I could. And I remember after that second week, I was like, I'm going to be here for a while. So I decided to go to store. I spent like 80, 90 bucks on store out of that. And I remember store came on Tuesday. So I only had it for 1 day. And sure enough, Wednesday, it's like, I want to say like 2, 3 in the morning, they wake me up. Crow, roll it up. Transfer. I'm like, great. I just wasted 90 bucks, but whatever, I hooked the homie up. He did his part in giving me the knowledge he could, so I could have an easier time when I went up. I could basically not have to ask so many questions when I got there, but anybody that knows me, I still ask a lot of questions. So, and give me a honey buns before I took off, but it's kind of hard, you know. Again, I was really nervous. So I remember the one thing he told me though, because I was starting to make some coffee, and he woke up with me and he was just like, "Yeah, you don't want to drink coffee. They're not gonna stop for any restroom breaks, and you're not gonna want to go on that bus." And at the time, I was like, "But I want coffee." Looking back at it, I'm glad I didn't. There's no way I could have sat through that whole bus ride without pissing myself. So yeah, about 3 in the morning, they take us into the holding cell, and we're just waiting for transfer. I want to say it was between 5 or 6. We sat there. I think they even gave us breakfast, if I remember correctly. You gotta bear with me. This is a long time ago. Excuse me. I'm 33 now. This was when I was 19, so bear with me. I do believe they fed us breakfast in the holding tank, and yeah, it was between like 5, maybe 6 in the morning. They finally put us on the bus, and shackle us all up, chain us together, and we get on the Ventura County Sheriff bus. Now, what's funny to me is there's a lot of different characters going, and you have these guys that were talking all tough on the ride up there that they'd been through this a million times, it was nothing, they're gonna do this, this, and that when they get up there, that they take buildings. And then you got the guys that were really, really quiet, that didn't really talk much. So I thought that was funny because as soon as we got there, we'll get to that part. So we're taking the bus ride. Remember we hopped on the 126, and me being from Santa Paula, I remember passing by to the 126 eastbound and looking over at Santa Paula for what I felt was going to be the last time in forever. And yeah, I remember that feeling. And I thought I was going to be happy to see the city, but honestly, it's kind of depressing knowing that I can't jump off and touch the ground, breathe the air, go give my family a hug one last time. So yeah, we take the 126. I believe we got off in Valencia and took the 5. Felt like a pretty long bus ride, but then after doing some prison time and transferring from prison to prison, yeah, that bus ride was nothing compared to like Wasco to Ironwood, I'll tell you that. So yeah, I remember the ride up there, I was nervous, but it hadn't really kicked in all the way yet. I remember we finally pull up to Wasco, we get to the gates to pull in, and I just see the big old yard. And I guess where we pulled in, it must have been like facing a yard, because the people that I seen on the yard were in blues. Mind, at this time I don't know that. I don't know nothing about prison yet. I don't know about oranges, blues, reception, mainline. I don't really know much. But yeah, I remember seeing all the dudes in the blues on the yard, and how big the yard was, and how many people were out there, the gun towers, and yeah, that was when the nervousness really kicked in. Again, I was wearing a mask. I didn't show it, but deep down inside, I was like, man, what did I get myself into? You really did it this time, John. Yeah, so I remember we get off the bus, and as soon as we get off the bus, I want to say before we even walked into R&R, they were asking us, you GP or SNY? GP or SNY? And I just remember, obviously GP, we're all GP, say GP. And as far as I remember, everybody did say GP, but when we walked in, right, they did it again. They're like, anybody that doesn't want to go to GP, you want to go SNY, go to the left and ring the bell. And they called us in one by one, right? I was one of the first people that went in. I go, strip us out, and just end up giving us some oranges, and they put us in a holding tank. And when I was sitting there, this is where I'm gonna go back to those dudes that were talking all loud on the bus. The biggest, baddest dudes on the bus. If you guys ever heard that term, he rang the bell. It's actually a real thing in Wasco. At least at this time it was. I can't say anymore if they still have that bell there. But the dudes that all went SNY, they really rang a bell, like ding, 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 and they went off to the left. And every single one of those dudes that was talking all loud, like they were the biggest, hardest dude, all went to the left and rang the bell. guys that were just real quiet and not saying much. We all went GP to the right. No bell rang. But yeah, I remember sitting in that holding cell. I believe they had it said Ventura on the top, and then like there was another one that said like LA, another one that said Orange, just different counties. And if I remember correctly, it was only us that came that day, and Orange County. Yeah, Orange County and Ventura were the only ones that came on Wednesday at this time. But there was other transfers going, like prison to prison, stuff like that. Medical transfers, people going out to court, coming back from court, stuff like that. So I remember sitting in there for a while, and then, we're just all talking. They play that little video of the little Snickers bar. Stupid. That kind of stuff don't really happen in prison. At least none of the places I've been. But, yeah, I remember we sat in there what felt like forever, and I'm just wondering, like, what's next to come? Where am I going to go? How is it going to be? And, everybody's telling me, like, what are you here for? How much time do you got? They're trying to do the point system in their head for me. They're telling me I'm going to go to the cells, right? Because of my case, because of how much time I got, because it's my first term, I'm not married, like, a lot of different factors. Well, I want to say they called everybody going to the cells first, and there was a few of us that were left behind, and they actually sent us to the dorms. I really didn't expect that, but oh hey, here's another funny thing. Well, when they pull you in or whatever, and they start like getting your information, they make you sign your, I don't want to say your death certificate, but basically you put an emergency contact where you're signing off if you die, who you're going to send your body off to. And when they do that, they make sure what race you are, who you run with. You run south, north, black, white, other, yada yada yada. So obviously I ran south, and I don't know where they screwed up on the computerization of that, because we'll talk more about that in other videos as I go on with my journey. But I remember that followed me all the way to Ironwood, that messed up in the computer. It wasn't until I went to the hole for the first time that I didn't have that problem no more. But yeah, so they tell us that we're gonna go to the dorms. We're going to Sea Yard, and it was me, I believe, 2 more homies, and there was like 4 or 5 white boys. Yeah, there was 3 homies total and like 4 or 5 white boys. So we're walking to Sea Yard, right? And I remember, you get into like this little middle thing, and it has which yard you're gonna go to. B, C, D, H. So we go down C. I'm seeing more of the guard towers. I see the big ass yard, and then from where we were coming, if you go straight, it was okay. No, because 3. No, it was 2. Yeah, C1, C2, C3, and I believe C4, C5 are on this side. Long story short, C2 at this time was the Bulldogs were in there, and no homies were in there, no Northerners were in there. It was just Bulldogs, whites, and blacks. And I heard that when we were in R&R that that's where the Bulldogs are. I'm still not fully like knowing how serious that would be. I'd never been around them. But here's the funny part: they send 3 of those 4 white boys into C2 where the Bulldogs are, and then the rest of us, we end up going to C4 to the left. And when I got there, we have our little bags with our blankets and stuff. We didn't really have property, and they tell us what bunk we're going to be on. And when they tell me my bunk, you get pretty much all the inmates run up to you like, hey, you a homie? You white? Like, what are you? It's like, I'm a homie. And they're like, oh, you can't go to that bunk. That's a white bunk. For whatever reason, they messed up at the computer, and they tried to put me as white, that I ran with the whites. So, whatever, they end up getting it fixed. They do like some bed moves and stuff, and I end up with the Mexican bunkie. Excuse me. Matter of fact, he was a border brother. He's a border brother from Linwood, Gapi. Good dude. Really like totally changed my whole perspective on paisas. Because at this time, I'd never really been around like some gangster paisas, you know? I'm not trying to discriminate or like say anything bad. The utmost respect for my paisa brothers, but you know, he changed my perspective on them in a good way. Um, yeah, so that ended up being my bunkie after they fixed that whole situation. But I just remember, like I said, they sent whites in to see it too with the Bulldogs, and they had me labeled as a white. If there would have been one less white there, that would have been my ass going in there. And my dumb ass would have went up to whoever was a Mexican looking dude, be like, hey, where are the homies at? And I would have got my butt packed out vicious, I guarantee you. And I'm not even saying that to sound hard, just I did not know. I would have went in there and be like, hey, where are the homies? I'd be like, you south? Yeah. Bing, 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 bing. I would have got boop up like a mother. Probably would have got whacked. I wouldn't I wouldn't put it past them. Those dudes, yeah, they have no respect, no morals, but they're no punks either. They're with they're with the business. I've seen them on occasions, you know, jump over that fence. It'd be like two or three of them. The yard's full of homies, and they would jump the fence to get rushed by all the homies. And like, dudes are crazy. They're with the functions. Obviously, every group segment has their cowards, but for the most part, from what I've seen with the Fresno Bulldogs, they're with the functions. Don't really care for them as far as their morals, the way they conduct themselves, but they're no punks. So I was like that close to getting my butt kicked going into that dorm, the way that they had things mixed up on the computer. So you know, I remember right away, you know, we start setting up our beds, and then every group segment that you run with, like I'm sure the people that had it for the whites went to talk to them. Obviously, the homies came to talk to me and the other two that walked in, and they gave us the, you know, the little rundown. These are the reglas, read this, you know, this is what's expected of you, you do this, you'll be fine, right? And then at the end, it's just like, you know, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. No question's a dumb question. And me trying to be funny, like, I have a question. They're like, what is it? I was like, are you down with OPP? They didn't even laugh. They just shook their head at me. I felt so stupid. But yeah, one of the dudes that came in with us, I'm not gonna say his name. He wasn't a gang member though. He's just a resident. But he was from Ventura. As soon as we finished reading the reglas and they told us, you know, if we had any questions, and they walked away, I don't know what was going on through this dude's head, because I had seen his paperwork. He came up with me. The dude didn't have bad charges or anything. I don't know what was going through his head, but he read those rules, handed him back in the envelope, and grabbed his bag and went straight to the freaking cop and told him he couldn't be there. That dude locked it up off the gate. He didn't last 5 minutes on the freaking reception. It was crazy. I have no idea why he did that. Assuming out of fear, probably read all that and said, yeah, screw this, I'm not doing this. But yeah, to each their own. At that time I was really immature and young-minded, just thought the dude was a lame punk, but looking back at it now, he was a little bit older. You know, maybe he saw through the bull crap already and just knew what that stuff was about. I doubt that was the case because it was his first term, but I'm just trying to give the dude the benefit of the doubt, because all that crap is bull crap. It really is. It's not the life you want to live, like Tim Snow says. Shout out Texas Prison Stories, Tim Snow. I mess with your channel, bro. Yeah, so that was like how my first day was mounting up. I remember just trying to fit in, find a little crowd. I'm asking, you know, who's here from Ventura? And, because, you know, everybody car trips, they want people that they're familiar with, people from their area. And so happened for me, it was just me, the other dude from my county, and I believe there was only one other dude from Oxnard that was there, and one from Santa Maria. There wasn't very many of us from the 805 in that building. So that was like our little crew. And then I learned pretty quick that I don't really like the area trip, so I start spreading my wings, go hang out with San Gabriel Valley, hang out with Southeast LA. Like, anybody that's done time with me knows that I don't really just do that Ventura County 805 crap. I always hang out with different areas. My first term, when I landed on the main line, I was road dogging with Orange County. My last term, I was roll dogging with the double S, South LA. Like, just what I do. I find a road dog and I kick it with him and his homies. Um, but yeah, those storms are crazy. They're really crazy. I remember that nervousness when I first got there, and then after a day or two, I got used to it, and then it just felt like it was nothing to me. It was a new experience. I started to like it a little bit better than the county jail, just being stuck. And then I had that freedom. I'm in the dorm, we're just running wild, you know. Um, Obviously, looking back at it now, that wasn't cool. It wasn't cool at all. But I'm just putting myself in the moment. Like, I was trying to make the best of a messed up situation. I didn't want to be the type of person to be busted and just be all bitter and like, yeah, nah. Those people, nobody wants to be around them. One thing about me, I've always tried to make the best out of my situations. So, yeah, remember those dorms? They were crazy. People just running wild all day, all night. Um, Another thing I noticed in those dorms, if somebody was getting boo-bopped, like one race, say somebody messed up and they're going upstairs to go get boo-bopped, it seemed like every race had to find a reason to boo-bop one of their own. Like if the homies did it, next thing you know, the blacks are going up there to do it, the whites are going up there to do it. There's really only the others that didn't play that crap. But yeah, and vice versa. If the whites boo-bop somebody, next thing you know, the homies are looking for a reason to boo-bop someone, and it was wild. I don't know. It was like, who has the bigger nuts, you know? It's really just like one big pissing contest to see who is the biggest and baddest. Really, really stupid crap. But yeah, I didn't last too long in those dorms. I remember being there, and for whatever reason, they sent me, because in reception, law school, they have like two sides. You got, if you're in, let's just say 4 block, you got A side and B side. I was on A side. I remember for whatever reason, something about the need to compact bed space, they sent me to B side. And again, this is where that white thing followed me on the computer bull crap. They send me over to B side and try to put me on a white bed again. I'm like, what the hell, you guys know I'm a homie. I was just on a homie bunk, and they basically said there was nothing they could do to fix it. They had no room, but there was people transpacking that were gonna leave in the morning. So if I just slept there that night, I would have my own bunk in the morning, and it would be a homie bunk. And I told them I couldn't do that, whatever. And then, you know, the homies pulled me to the side. They talked to the whites, and I don't know if anybody else has ever done this in prison, but this actually happened for me. I can tell you from experience. They basically said, you know, just go on that bunk during count time, and then, you know, we're gonna have 2 other homies stay up with you, Guile. You guys aren't gonna go to sleep. Just kick it. In the morning, you leave that bunk. So I actually was bunked up with a white for about 6 hours. Yeah, and then I finally, you know, I got my own bunk. I was there probably a couple more weeks, and then my counselor came to see me, which was really, really fast. Yeah, because I don't even think I was there for even a month and a half at this point. But it wasn't me catching a bag either. My counselor just happened to notice my points and came and seen me, gave me my points. I had 58 points, I believe. Yeah, because level 4 was 60. I was 2 points away from level 4 at this time. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what it meant. And my counselor didn't give me a heads up either. They just took off, and I'm telling everybody, oh, I got 58 points. They're like, oh crap, you're not even supposed to be here. They're going to send you to the cells. I was like, you think so? They're like, yeah. Sure enough, they did. And the way they came, too, it was like if I did something wrong, they come in, they freaking cuff me up and like take me out all crazy, like, oh, what were you doing there? You mean, what am I doing here? You put me there. You think I snuck out of a cell and went to the dorms? Like, the stupid crap, the way that they make you feel like, what are you doing here? Come on. But yeah, try to make it seem like I did something wrong, like if I manipulated the system to be in the dorms. Okay, I'm not that smart. So, yeah, I remember they ended up taking me to B yard. thinking in my head, I thought they said D, and I know D is cell living. So when I realized we're going to B, when we made that churn, I'm kind of tripping, like, damn, am I gonna have to get off on my celly? Because I'm remembering from what I've been told, B yard's no good. It's SNY. I didn't know that B5 and B6 were good, and that only 1, 2, 3, and 4 were SNY. So I'm thinking the whole yard's bad. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, first they almost sent me to the Bulldogs, now they're sending me to the SNY yard. Like, they're trying to get me killed. I haven't even been here 2 months. And they end up sending me to B6, A side, and they asked me when I'm walking in, you run south or white? I was like, I run south, and they're like, oh crap, we don't have a cell for you, so we're gonna have to put you a single cell for right now. So I remember they put me in a single cell, and the porters walked by, and I didn't even know whether to talk to them or not when they came into my door, but they came up to my door and they were like, what's your name? Do you have your paperwork? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, first thing I asked, I was like, is it GP or SNY? Like, is it GP? Why? I was like, well, okay, no, we're good then. I was like, they brought me over here from the dorms, and I thought B yard was SNY, so I was tripping. I didn't know. They're like, nah, B5, B6 are good. I was like, all right, cool. So whatever, shoot, whatever I have. It ended up being good. I ended up getting a celly. They moved me from that cell and gave me a celly like the next day. And I was there for a couple more weeks, and that's when I caught my bag to Ironwood, which is a whole other story. But I just remember the difference from being in the dorms, going to the cells, and just all the nervousness of the unknown. Like I told you, that bus ride up there, I was really nervous. I didn't know what to expect. And then I got there, and then I started having what I tried to make a good time, and I got comfortable, and I wasn't nervous no more. But then as soon as they told me I was going to the cells, that nervousness came back, because I'm going somewhere I've never been before. I'm going to something unknown to me. I don't know what it's going to be like. But I'll tell you one thing, those cells were boring. You were slammed down. I want to say for the time I was there, except for like maybe a month before I ended up catching my back to Wasco, I could probably count on one hand how many times we went out to yard in that month. How many times we came out to day room. Like, we stayed slammed down. And it wasn't like we were mixed in there with Northerners on the top and us at the bottom, or Bulldogs on the top, us on the bottom. It was all just homies, whites, blacks, and others. There was no Northerners, no Bulldogs. But yet, we stayed slammed down. Excuse me. Yeah, I just remember how boring that was. So boring. Going through books like that. When I was in the dorm, I couldn't really read too much because we had so much program. I was always just playing cards, made the little dice out of bread, playing 10,000, just running amok in the dorms. And then to go to the cells, you're just slammed. You can only talk to your cellie so much, and then you got a cellie that doesn't really want to talk. All you do is read. I remember going through books like that. And the thing about being in reception, you don't really get books like that either. Like, they don't have a library that really comes. So you better hope your people are sending you books if you're slammed down in the cells. So I remember when they finally gave me my bag, like, hey Crow, you got a bag. It said ISP. I was like, what the hell is that? Like, oh, you're going to Ironwood. Nervousness came back, but this time it was different. I was so sick of being where I was actually kind of looking forward to go to something different at this point. But again, the nervousness was there because I didn't know what to expect. I just knew it was going to be a whole different ball game. The difference that I did notice though from the cells and dorms, when I was in the dorms, people were getting beat up left and right over like the dumbest crap. I remember somebody got beat up for what they said stealing out of the kitty just because he was using too much of the stuff out of the kitty as far as the toothpaste, shampoo, bar soap. But it was like, isn't that what the kitty's for? The guy didn't go to store, he didn't have family. He literally had to use that stuff for hygiene. And they said that he was overdoing it, that by this time he should have been able to get some kind of money. They beat him up for it. An old man too. An old man at that. Just the big difference. And then when we got to the cells, it was a lot different. There wasn't as many people getting beat up. But I'll tell you one thing, when it did happen, that's probably why we didn't really have yard. They weren't just getting beat up, they were getting freaking whacked on the yard. It was definitely a lot more vicious, the violence from the cells compared to the dorms, but not as consistent. It wasn't always violent like that. Like in the dorms, again, people are getting beat up left and right, so a little more violence, but the violence is to another extreme when it happened in the cells compared to the dorms. So that was a little look into my first day in prison, how I felt, things I experienced, what could have happened, what did happen, and I give you a little bit more about like my Wasco stay. So, at the time, it felt like it was nothing. It felt like it was nothing because I got comfortable there. And that's the worst thing you could do. Do not get comfortable. Don't get comfortable. You need to remind yourself every day how much you hate that place. That way when you do get out, you'll never do anything to jeopardize your freedom and go back to that crap again. Because when you have the mentality that this is nothing, I can do this, you're just going to be constantly in and out like a revolving door. Another thing I learned from experience, if you're going to keep going back, violating, whether it's even in jail or just catching new beefs and just in and out, in and out, in and out, they're always going to let you out if they can because they know you're going to come right back. You're taking them money for them. And I noticed it's harder for people to get out that have really, really taken the time to try to change their lives. Like people that are doing all the classes they can, that make a real change, you can tell in their character. They're getting denied early releases. Like I remember those COVID releases, people that had really, really changed, that deserve to go, at least from my opinion, I'm a pretty good discerner of character. They all got told no, but the people that knew that were gonna come right back, out. That was one thing that I learned about the system. They just want to keep you coming in and out, and if they know you're not gonna come back, they're gonna do everything they can to keep you as long as they can, because they want that money for you being there. They want those taxpayer dollars. I remember again during COVID, I'm going off topic, but just reminded me of the stupidity of some people, including myself. I was there, I'm no smarter than anybody. I put myself in that position. But I remember there was this cell with these two dudes there, and one of the craziest things I had ever seen, they both paroled, right? Not at the same time. One left, he got a new cellie, and then he ended up leaving a little while later. Would you believe that both of those dudes came back, like literally 2 years later, and landed in the same cell and were cellies again? I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen nothing like that before. Like, damn, you guys really missed each other that much? You guys caught another term and came back to be with each other? Talk about gay. I don't know. People that just want to be stuck in there, it's like, why do you want to be stuck sleeping next to a grown man? Like, do you want to get married, wake up next to your wife every day, really make something of yourself? Like, I don't know. We worry too much about what people think, this being in good standing stuff. Screw good standings. They don't give a crap about you. It's not going to get you nowhere. Because the second that they can't use you no more, you're not going to be their pawn no more. Wash their hands with you and just smut you up and you're no longer in good standing. It's better to be in good standing as a citizen. Better to be in good standing with society out here. That way you could get good jobs. You can network, have people that'll help you better yourself, better your living situation. This is what it's all about, working and providing for your family. That's being a real gangster. That's being a real man. You shouldn't care what these people think about you. They don't pay your bills. They don't do nothing for you. What you need to care about what your family thinks about you. The people that you're hurting when you're making those dumb decisions, why don't you think about that and make some better decisions? Make them proud. Do something for them. put a roof over their head, clothe them, feed them, work hard, bust your ass for them. That's what I do. Spent so many years trying to be loyal to something that held no value for over half of my life, 15 years active, 15 years full-fledged. And what did it get me? It got me nowhere. The second that I decided I wanted to be a real man and have a family and take care of my family, all of a sudden I'm no good. I have all these people attacking me on the internet. Oh, you're a dropout, you're this and that. Well, first of all, how? I parole GP. I don't got no bad charges. I never punked out. Never did no punk crap. But because I decided to have a family and be there for my family, I'm no good. Cool, I guess I'm no good then. But, you know, all you little internet trolls that want to say that, really ask around and find out why I'm. You guys are just going off what everybody says. Expose me, put the proof out there why I am. You can't, because you don't even know. You're just going off what another man says because I'm butthurt because I won't be their pawn no more. But again, couldn't care less what they think. I only care about what my family thinks. People I take care of. That's what it's all about. You know, make better choices than I did. I wasted half of my life. I could have been a lot further now. You know, I'm grateful, better late than never. I have a beautiful family, a nice home, decent cars, good career. I'm really blessed. I'm really blessed. But I think about how much further that I could have got and have better things for my family. And I don't want anybody else to have to go through that, look in the mirror and just think about how much life they wasted. Make better choices now. You won't regret it. The earlier you start, the further you'll get. If I could go back to being 18 and do everything different, knowing everything I know now, I'd have a home by now, like a real house, not just renting an apartment. I'd have some nice cars paid off. I'd have a fat 401k, investments. But hey, I'm learning now. Even when I changed my life, I made some mistakes as far as like with my credit and stuff. You know, building that back up, getting it in a better spot. But, you know, things could have been a lot easier. I just started really late. And again, better late than never. I'm grateful for the life I have now. I just really hope you guys can learn from my mistakes and do better. Learn from my mistakes and don't make the same ones. That'd be stupidity. So, that's my video for today. I appreciate you guys for coming. Give me a like, that thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, please. And if you know anybody that you feel could get something out of this video, please share it. Hit that arrow and just send it, share it. I'll have another video in the next day or two. I'm telling you guys I'm going to be more consistent with this. I have a 30-day calendar of topics of what I'm going to speak on every day. So I'm going to stick with it this time. I really want to get this channel going and get my message out there because I feel like there's some youth out there that I could help with my experiences. So thank you guys for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and share.